Imagine planting the same seed, three different seed into three different places. One may grow into a big, healthy tree. The other may actually struggle to even survive, whereas a third one may not even grow at all. The question is, was the seed different? Answer is no. The seeds were exactly the same. So what was different? If your answer is environment, definitely that's the answer. The environment is something that helps us either survive, nurture, or even be successful or even fail. So when we talk about human potential, it works the same way. Every child is born with curiosity. And curiosity, what happens? Okay. So what happens is every child or a student has ideas. Every professional has potential. Every leader wants to make a difference, isn't it? So why do some people confidently express themselves while others stay very silent? Why do some leaders inspire others with trust while others struggle to even be heard? And why do some capable leaders lose confidence, influence, and even sometimes themselves? These questions have fascinated me for the past couple of years. Hi, I'm Nazar Rafi. I'm a human potential architect and founder of NAS, Building Humans Before Titles. For over 20 years, I've worked with leaders, managers, students around MBA, management students, basically, as well as students between the ages of 10 to 16. And across every stage of life, I've discovered one simple truth. Would you be interested to hear that? The simple truth is most of these struggles are not caused by lack of intelligence. They are caused by human patterns we have never learned to understand. That's why I created this channel. Not to teach you quick communication tips or leadership hacks, but to help you actually understand the psychology behind the human behavior, communication, confidence, as well as leadership. Because when we understand why we think the way we do, speak the way we do, and act the way we do, we begin to see ourselves as well as others very differently. And every week, we will explore one human behavior, one conversation, and one leadership reality that has the power to change the way we learn, we work, lead, as well as basically, live our life. So I hope you're excited. Let's begin. So to start off, I have a very quick question, right? Have you ever met someone who is incredibly intelligent, right? A genius, literally a genius. But the moment that you ask them to speak, they go absolutely silent. Okay. So what's interesting is that intelligence is typically not the problem. The fact is, many of the smartest people I've met speak the least. So why is this? Why does it happen? And that is something which is always very important to understand. So the topic for today is why it's very important to understand why smart people struggle to speak. And the first reason is intelligence doesn't guarantee expression. And that is something very important. Okay. We mistake intelligence for expression. Being able to think and being able to express are not the same thing. They are two different competency, they are two different skill set altogether. Many intelligent people assume that because they understand something very clearly, they will automatically explain it very clearly, but they won't. One of the easiest examples that I can share is, for example, you have a lot of people who are very analytical and the smartest people in your team. Give them any task, they get it done. They know the A's and the B's and all the challenges that are being faced by the team. So they are very, very technically good. However, put them in front of the client and they are supposed to express their thoughts and maybe convince the client and they struggle. Okay. Just to highlight that, when we talk about intelligence, it does not guarantee expression. So this is something which is very crucial to understand that the struggle, even the struggling to explain simple ideas, is something that you need to be really aware of. Okay. So the second part, which is very important to understand, is communication is emotional before it is verbal. Okay, I'll repeat that again because this is very important. Speaking is emotional, not just intellectual. People don't stop speaking because they don't know enough. They stop speaking because speaking exposes them. So you would have seen many people, they may start, stop again because somewhere they feel there's a risk. Every time they speak, they feel they are at risk about being wrong, being judged, being misunderstood, looking foolish. How many of you actually have stood in front of your colleagues? How many of you have stood in front of your classmates and you're prepared, mentally you're prepared? You stood in front of the mirror, you practice just like you were told to. You have the script in front of you, everything. You are prepared to the T. But when you stand in front of other people, you have a couple of eyes looking at you. What happens? There is a mental talk that happens. You start assuming that people are thinking about you, they are judging you, they are somewhere, you are communicating something which is inappropriate. So these are all patterns that we have that, unless and until addressed, it can become very, very chaotic in the long run. To reiterate, communication is never just about words. It's about vulnerability. It is about that, the felt risk that every speaker feels. The third point, or the third reason why many people, smart people, struggle to speak is silence has a history. Silence starts earlier than we think. And this is something very, very important. And I found it very, very curious when I started my work with leaders and managers. Most of their challenges did not start once they joined the corporate. It started way back in the schools when they were in the classrooms, and that is something very interesting. Okay. And this is because your cross audience become, examples become very powerful. For example, a child stops raising their hand because classmates may laugh. A teenager may stop asking questions because they don't want to look uncool. They don't want to come across like a nerd. Maybe a manager sits silently in a meeting because they don't want to sound inexperienced. So different ages, but same emotional pattern. And that's unfortunate reality. And whether you like it or not, just look within. When did your communication challenge start? Was it at corporate? Was it at school? Was it at college? That is something that you definitely need to understand. Where did the root cause start? The fourth question, and it is directly linked to the third one, school rewards answers, not expression, an unfortunate reality. Many smart people, spend years learning answers, how to answer, questions, how to answer, maybe a question paper or the question that is being asked by the teacher. But many, very few actually spend years learning to express uncertainty. Schools sometimes does not allow, or not even, I will not use the word allow, but they do not appreciate when a student asks question. Sometimes it is perceived as being judgmental, perceived as being egoistical, and also being perceived as a child being disrespectful. So unfortunate reality, schools reward correct answers. Workplace often reward confidence, neither consistently teaching thoughtful communication. No one teaches, or even appreciates being asked a question. And that is something that I discovered, unfortunate reality, or the thought process that exists in our Indian culture at the moment. The fifth point, smart people edit themselves too much. Think about it, right? I can put it the other way around also. Intelligence often creates higher standards. The smarter you are, the more aware you become of everything you don't know. So, ironically, what happens? The awareness can make you speak less. Sometimes the loudest voice in the room belongs to the person who has questioned themselves the least. And that is something which is mind boggling. So this is very curious. This is something that we need to look at people, smart people edit themselves too much, and look at your own self. If you're a manager, why do you keep quiet? You know the ground reality in the projects. You know the decision taken by the leadership or the client is not in the best interest for any stakeholder. Yet you keep quiet. Why? Again, it can be two parts. One, you're scared of consequence. You are worried if you speak up, what happens then? Or second, you do not want to take that responsibility or have that onus put on you. That again becomes unfortunate reality. And let's look at the sixth one, right? Confidence and competence are not the same, right? Communication is a reflection of experience. People often believe they have a communication problem, but sometimes they may also have experience problem. The words we choose, the confidence we project, even the willingness to speak in the meetings in front of leadership, in front of the clients, are all shaped by years of experience that taught us whether our voices are welcomed, ignored, interrupted, and judged. And if you're a manager, you need to definitely look very closely at your teams. Are your team members keeping quiet or they are not speaking? Is it because of confidence or is it competence? Competence, you can still help them, right? Because there might be a training challenge, it might be a skill set challenge. Confidence, not confidence in themselves, that is one part of it. The confidence is also, if I speak, is there a consequence attached to it? If I speak and be really truthful and honest, will I be reprimanded or interrupted or judged? That is something that is very interesting. So look closely at what exactly is stopping you or your team member to ask those questions. And this is also something you need to ask if you're a student who is watching this particular video. Ask yourself, why do some of your classmates do not ask questions? Is the teacher being reprimanding, or does the teacher actually encourage asking questions? That is something which is worthwhile the analysis. And then you have every stage of life reinforces the same pattern. Whether you like it or not, silence doesn't affect presentation. It affects opportunities, it affects relationships, it affects leadership, it impacts influence, it impacts innovation. And people believe that being silent, something is safer, but for how long? You are going to lose out missed opportunities, right? So the more you keep quiet, and especially I share this when I do recruitment training. So basically career readiness session with students who are graduates and postgraduates trying to get into the corporate world. Being silent in a group discussion or being very, very vociferous in the group discussion doesn't help facilitate the positive impact. But every time you are staying quiet, you are costing opportunities for yourself as the people around you. If you're staying quiet in meetings with answers within you, but you're not sharing those answers, it's a lost opportunity for your team, for your company, and for your client. Apart from that, the more you keep quiet, you're not addressing the challenges, you're not addressing the issues, you are avoiding. So, silence does not help relationships. Silence does not mean that you're a better leader. You are abdicating your responsibility as a leader. So the silence, staying silent, you might be doing or you might be thinking because you lack ideas, or you might be perceiving that someone in your team is being silent because they may not have idea of value. But for all you know, it might be a room they are never used to, or in this particular room they have never been heard, they were ignored, they have been interrupted or reprimanded. So why will they take the risk? If you have not created a experience or a safe space, psychological safe space for them to open up, why would they? And this safe space is a responsibility of leaders and managers. You cannot expect the team members to trust you. You need to gain their trust. And unfortunately, the corporate works the other way. The corporate expects team members and employees to trust them, but how can they trust them when you have not shown them the trust, or you have not shown them that it's a safe space to be honest and transparent? When they are reprimanded, why would they open up? When you have created fear, why would they open up? And that's something very, very curious as I explored this realm of human behavior. Next question is the question that changes everything. This is super important. So instead of asking, how do I become more confident? This is something that many people, irrespective of what age and what background, this is one thing that they ask me, how do I become confident? Instead of asking this question, you should be asking not only to me, to any other person, including yourself, you should be asking, when did I start believing that staying silent was safer than speaking? What is the root cause? What has happened to you in the past that has made you feel that asking question is not safe? The moment you figure the answer out, then you'll be able to overcome that particular pattern, right? And this is a deep question, and I want to stay with. I want you to stay with this because often this particular analysis, this question is much more important than the hacks and the tips. Find out when exactly you felt that keeping silent is safer, asking question is a risk. Figure that out, and you will have the answer as to how you can improve your confidence. And simple thing, communication is a human story, right? Whether you like it or not, maybe the smartest people don't struggle because they lack communication skills. Maybe they struggle because somewhere along the journey, they learned that protecting themselves was more important than expressing themselves. And unless and until we understand why that has happened, learning how to communicate better only solves part of the problem. To give an example, very, very critical. If your child is not speaking, so you know something is disturbing him or her, but no matter how many questions you're asking, the answer is still like no, the silence. Then ask yourself, what is contributing to that silence, right? Is your relationship with your child strong enough, or are they able to trust you enough to share and respond to your answers, or they trust someone else to to be comfortable to answer that? Or as a faculty or a facilitator, if your students do not ask you questions, but ask questions to other faculties and other classmates, the challenge may not be the student. And if you're a manager working in the corporate, if your team members go silent in the meeting, but in your absence, they are bubbling with a lot of ideas, they are bubbling with a lot of questions, then the problem may not be that they do not know how to add value. The problem may not be they cannot communicate. The problem may not be that they are not confident enough. The problem may be you. So what is very important is identify, analyze where the challenge is. And that the moment you figure this out, you will be able to have a much more confident team and a confident you. So remember, communication is not just about finding the right words. It's about understanding the experiences that shaped your voice, your team's voice. Because the moment you understand why you struggle to speak, or why your team members struggle to speak, or your students struggle to speak, you begin to rediscover the confidence that always was yours or theirs.